All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Be That Guy podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and before we get rolling today, I forget this a lot, but I'm going to ask you guys to make sure you please subscribe to the podcast. I forget this like almost every single time, but this is really important because when you subscribe, it gets this message out to all of the guys who need to hear this. All right, those guys who are between the ages of 18 and 26, they might feel lost, not sure exactly what to do with their life. Every time you hit subscribe, you're going to make it more likely that they're going to hear this content and start figuring out their life. So if you support that, please subscribe. I'm so grateful if you do on whatever platform you typically listen to this on. Thank you guys so much. Beyond appreciative. So thank you. Second order of business is we have a new product that we're going to highlight today. All right. Recently, I was approached by a company named Prozis. They are a health and wellness and supplementation company, and they're awesome. They sent me a bunch of their products to test out over the last month. They have some multivitamins here. We have some creatine capsules. We have a bunch of protein bars. I mean, just tons of different stuff. They got protein powder. They have protein cereal. Basically, you just kind of jam protein into everything. It's kind of awesome. But the really cool thing about it is they have given all of the Be That Guy community and the listeners 10% off of literally everything at their store. So in the description of this episode, I'm going to link their site, and at checkout, if you guys want to go buy some stuff, all right, like I said, it's some pretty good stuff, all right? Use code BTG10, BTG10, you get 10% off of literally everything, all right? So stack up your cart, use BTG10, 10% off, and their slogan is be stronger than your excuses. So that sounds kind of cool. All right, so go check them out. Prozis, I'll have it linked below. BTG10 for 10% off of everything. All right, enough with all that. Let's get to today's episode. We have a fantastic guest that I'm going to interview. This is a young man that the first time I met him was in Run Club. I feel like I meet a lot of good men in Run Club. This guy is 24 years old. All right. I want you guys to remember that as we listen to what we're going to dive in today, because a lot of the guys that I talk to are between those ages of 18 to 26. That's the main demographic that we work with when it comes to Be That Guy. And I want this to be an episode for those young men who are in their early 20s, mid 20s, who might feel a little lost, might not know exactly what to do, which, by the way, we all have felt lost at some point in our lives. It's part of being a young man today. It happens, right? It happened to me. All right. It's a big reason why we do all the work that we do today. And this young man that we're going to talk to today is a hybrid athlete, all right, a modern day hybrid athlete, I would say. He is a extremely creative content creator as well. And his motto is lift more than runners and run faster than the lifters. Without further ado, I want to welcome Austin Zieman to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you, DJ, for having me. And for all the kind words, man. I might need a copy of that to use later.
Without a doubt, dude. It's all true. It's all true. I remember the first time I met you, I was like, this dude's got it. I was like, this is what we need more of, like right here. And and I don't say that lightly because I see a lot of guys who are really struggling. And I was very inspired when I did meet you.
Appreciate that.
Without a doubt, brother.
Definitely goes both ways. When I met Deej at Run Club, you know, he had that energy, and I feel like it was just kind of like that law of attraction, right?
Yeah,
I was like, man, like, first of all, this guy's fit, he's positive, energetic, and he's good looking. So I was like, I got to get to meet him, right?
Hell yeah, dude. That's a good mixture.
So yeah, I was like, man, I can't be letting this guy just, you know, walk around and not even get to meet him, right? So, you know, so I had to say what's up. And I feel like we've known each other longer than we have.
I feel like that's the thing. I feel like that's the thing with dudes when you like meet a guy, you're like, dude, what's up, bro? And you're like, dude, we feel like we've been best boys forever, but you've really literally known the guy for like 10 minutes and like immediately kind of gel. I've had that connection with a lot of guys here in Tampa, and I don't know if it is because of the health and fitness and wellness, just natural communities. So you naturally, I think, are drawn to the same things, but it's been like super easy to meet friends in those communities. Have you felt that?
All the time.
Yeah.
Whether it's the gym, Run Club, I mean, and you know all the clubs that St. Pete, Tampa has, dude, between paddleboard and cold tub plunges, like whatever you name it. I mean, full of like-minded individuals. And I don't know how we haven't met sooner. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
All the people in the Northeast are probably like, screw these Tampa guys. They're like, these guys got all the things that they want. But before we kind of get into today's episode, I have to just commend you on your preparation for this show. For those of you who are listening to this or watching this, when Austin and I were talking earlier a couple weeks ago, I was like, dude, let's do a show together. He's like, I'm in. And I'm like, I have a couple different ideas. I was like, but send me some things that you might want to talk about. This guy sent me a 6-page document. And he's like, hey, I sent you a Google Doc. I'm like, for what? It's like our podcast. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like, that sounds good. I went in and I was like, oh my God, like this guy has a lot of stuff that he wants to cover in around an hour. And I was like, one, this is awesome. All right. It's awesome that we literally have this conversation. It produces that amount of effort and preparation. And it inspired me. I was like, all right, like let's talk about some good shit today. So I wanted to first start with structure.
Yeah.
All right. Structuring your days, your time, your life, and the courage coffee. All right. I think that is very important. I think it's got a nice little ring to it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, why is structure important and how do you structure your days?
Yeah, throughout my day, my everyday life, I wear a lot of hats, as you probably know. Between working, part-time jobs, working a fellowship for sports, being in grad school, and then doing a lot of social media, content creation on the side, along with fitness. So I know how important it is to make sure that each day is planned ahead in order to get everything in that I want to get in. And I think, early on, like, You'll figure out if your days aren't structured, you're gonna start missing assignments, you're gonna start falling behind, and then one thing leads into another, and then before you know it, you're missing out on stuff, right? So I just think it was really important once I started realizing that, okay, like this is serious, like you have a certain amount of time in your day, and now you just have to make the most of it. So how are you gonna plan ahead to get all that stuff done? So I think that's been really important when trying to figure out how to structure my days. One quote I really like, I'm a big quote guy, so you might hear a few out of me today. But
I like quotes too. Quotes are good.
Yeah, so I heard this, and I think it might have been like a Nick Bear podcast, but he said he tries to live each day by forward thinking and backwards planning. So he likes to think ahead on the week, and I personally like to write out my week on a whiteboard just so I can then prepare. Whether that's, meal prep or, putting things in your calendar. So I think that's really helped me a lot in staying organized, having a pretty good structure for my day to day and making sure that I'm getting the right things done.
Beautiful. Yeah. I like what you said about I started having to take it seriously. And I think a lot of guys, they don't have things that they want, that they need to take seriously. Right, because a lot of guys might feel stuck, and it might just be sleeping in. It might be a part-time job they don't really care about, and so it isn't like serious enough to actually, hey, let's plan out the week on a whiteboard. Let's write some things down because this stuff is important to me. Right? Does that make sense?
100%.
Right. Yeah. The one thing. So how do you structure your days?
So I'm big in like blocking out my schedule. Yeah. So blocking out like mornings, afternoons, into evenings. And I mean, ultimately, to have the most productive day, it starts in the morning, right?
Yeah. Talk to me about the morning or the courage coffee.
The courage coffee, we'll tie that in. Yeah, so I'll be honest, I've never grew up a morning person.
Yeah.
Like I'm a heavy sleeper.
Okay. That's interesting.
Like super heavy.
Yeah.
So this was never easy. And this is proof to show that people that, you don't need to be a morning person to start waking up early and starting your day off on the right note. It just comes with consistency by, compounding daily. So, but the courage coffee, yeah. So like I said, big quote guy, whenever I hear something that really sticks with me or stands out, whether it's in a podcast or a book, or even if I'm just with someone who, I look up to, I have a list of quotes. I use notes a lot on my phone. And so I'll go through them, and I was thinking of a way that I can try and to impact other people, and how can I spread these quotes and this knowledge and wisdom that I'm getting through podcasts and, other sorts of information. And how can other people benefit from that? How can I spread those quotes and spread that positivity and all those words? So had this idea with Courage Coffee, and people ask me all the time, they're like, dude, did you get that from somewhere? Did you steal it? And I'm like, no, but I should probably patent it soon or trademark it.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, no, it just kind of was an idea that came to mind. And I was like, you know, I'm a big coffee drinker. You know, part of the reason that, you know, I can wake up early gets me through my mornings. So I was thinking, how can I add value to maybe someone drinking coffee and waking up and starting their day?
So where's the courage come from?
Courage.
Like, yeah, like what's courageous about it?
Courageous. Well, you know, we'll start with some bold coffee, right? But no, I mean, I feel like every quote and every lesson has some kind of value and some kind of impact. And for you to, you know, take initiative and to maybe start living by some of those quotes, you need to put away fear and start having that courage. Start, you know, being okay failing, you know, and trying. If you're not trying, then you're already failing.
Yeah.
So I think just building courage, being confident, because I didn't always have the type of courage to do things, and I think that a lot of you guys, you know, especially in this age range, can you know, benefit from that and just kind of start developing that mindset to create the life that you ultimately want.
So you mentioned that you at one point were not this confident, courageous guy.
Yeah. No.
Who was that guy?
That's a great question, Deej. You're getting me a little vulnerable here.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think COVID, you know, was a tough time, and I ultimately saw myself post COVID start to develop in the person that I wanted to become. I think it was kind of an eye opener for me. You know, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, consistently had structure to my day. But when COVID hit and I had all this extra free time, it was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do in my life? I need to get out of the house. So that's when I started, you know, going to the gym, and I would spend 2, 3, sometimes 3.5 hours at the gym, because it was almost like a therapy to me. And ultimately that started building the routine and building the discipline that became something even more.
That's a great example of how COVID can be seen as something positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the moment, we probably all thought this is super negative. Yet that story shows me that COVID had a great impact on you, turned you into a completely new guy, who I get to see today. Right? Like, I had buddies, I remember when COVID was happening. So I was 25, I think, when COVID was, maybe 24. What was it, 5 years or 6 years ago? Yeah, so I was 24. I was your age. Right, so I was 24 years old, and I remember I was living in Rochester, New York, and I remember we had a couple friends over because we weren't socially distancing. I'll say that publicly. We were not socially distancing. And I remember I had a couple buddies who were like, dude, we got to get this COVID thing like done. We got to figure this out. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, no, for like my own health. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I remember some of my buddies were like, dude, I'm doing drugs and drinking every day because I have nothing else to do. And we were like, really? And they're like, dude, I'm not doing anything. And so your mind kind of just, well, I can only play so many video games or watch so much Netflix.
Right.
And so a couple of my friends were like, we need to figure this out or else I'm going down a nasty path. And so I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, like, look at how dangerous isolation is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just put someone alone, they'll just become their own enemy.
Right.
Right.
You can't feed off anyone else's energy. And if you don't have the daily routine, the healthy habits to ultimately live off that discipline, like when you don't have the motivation, you just start falling apart, I feel like.
Now, I know you're a big runner.
Yes.
Do you ever go for long runs in complete silence?
I have, yeah.
Tell me about those.
Yeah. So, you know me, I mean, I'm typically listening to music or a podcast. You know, whenever I'm doing something, I love multitasking. If I could be learning while I'm doing something, I'm going to try and do that. But yeah, sometimes I like, you know, if I really need like some therapy, I will go completely silence, you know, just listen and me breathing, nature. And that really just, it's healing. It's really healing. And I think I highly recommend it to you guys too. If you start, you know, running and getting in the running space, like sometimes running without any noise is the best.
Yeah.
You know, because there's always noise around us, and everything we do with social media and screens and everything, that we don't get enough alone time and enough, you know, solitude, especially with nature. We don't always feel connected with nature and grounded. So I think that's important.
I think Nick Bear was the first one who told me about that. Might have been Nick Bear and David Goggins.
Okay.
So two guys who know what they're doing.
For sure.
And I remember David Goggins was more around like, flirt with the demons in your head type of vibe. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what Nick Bear was. I think Nick Bear was more just about focusing just on his actual form and everything like that. So I remember I started to do that a lot when it was actually when COVID did kind of hit. I did a workout where I would run to this, it's almost like a CrossFit platform, like this little park in Rochester, New York. And I would run about a mile there. I would do essentially the Murph. So I would do like pull-ups, I would do push-ups and air squats. And then eventually I'd put a backpack on with 20-pound dumbbells. And I did this like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday through COVID. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would run to the same platform and just do lower body. So I would give my upper body a rest. Yet I remember doing that in complete silence sometimes, like the majority of the time. And you would just hear like the light snowfall, or you just hear like the wind, and it's 5:45 in the morning, and you're kind of like, damn, this is kind of like scary a little bit. Like it's like how many times do we actually experience complete silence? Because to your point, right, we're not enough. I heard this really cool quote quote statement on a podcast, Diary of a CEO, and they were talking about the anxious generation. They had on the author Jonathan Haidt, I believe his name is, and then there was another psychologist, I can't remember her name, but they were talking about how whenever we're bored, we take out our phone.
Yeah.
So anytime you're bored, you immediately have something to subdue that boredom. And I thought about a cool saying. I'm like, make being bored cool again. Like the next time you're bored, don't do anything. Just like look around and just like look at everybody else who's looking at their phone. I always love doing like the airport test. If you're in an airport, don't take your phone out and just look at every single person is on their phone. Their kid could just run away and they wouldn't even know because they're just so deep into their phone. And so I love the idea of going on these runs in silence, because I do think it gives you that experience of silence, which I don't think we get. And the second thing I think it does is it allows you to see where your thoughts go when you don't really have anything to think about. Which can, like, where do your thoughts go?
Yeah.
The good ones and the bad ones. I want to know about all of it.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, so my first year in grad school up here, I found this conservation kind of park, and it literally took you through it was like a forest, like trees, and then eventually had a lake. And I would go run that on the weekends, even if it was once a week. And I would just embrace and feel connected with nature. And it was needed, And sometimes I'll be honest, those runs were where I got some of the best, content ideas, video ideas. Even, I feel like I got a lot of answers too. So I would say, those were some of my best runs because it allowed you to think. You weren't always, listening to a song or someone else talk, but you allowed yourself that time to kind of be at peace and kind of naturally produce those thoughts. It was awesome.
What were some of the answers you found?
Some of the answers, well, a lot of prayers were answered too. I'll be honest. Being very faithful, growing up, going to church. But I think thinking that I wasn't always ready. And like you said, sometimes, you question yourself. If you don't have that courage, you have a lot going on in your life, especially when you're young, when you're in your 20s. I think a lot of people can get discouraged and stressed out ultimately because they feel like they don't have the answers, which a lot of us don't, and that's,
I don't have the answers. I'm 6 years older than you. Right.
So,
maybe Nico's got them.
Might need to ask him later.
Right. We'll ask him later.
But I think just we're in a time in our lives where it's okay to feel that because, we're not always going to have everything figured out. This is the time to figure it out and take those risks. It just really helped me, figure myself out and kind of, answered a lot of those kind of doubts and kind of like, you should just do it.
Yeah.
Kind of mindset.
And there's the value of spending some time alone.
Right.
Right. Because you don't have other influences. You don't have your phone. You don't have your friends, which I'm not saying don't have friends. I think we need a healthy balance of both.
Right.
Yet when you are by yourself, there's nobody to tell you you're doing a good job. You're doing a bad job. You're not making enough progress. You're making too much progress. You have to kind of answer, like to your point, you found some answers. At some point I have to say, okay, I think that's the answer. Right? I think that's the answer to the thing. I need to stop comparing myself to every other person in the world because that's really stressful, especially with social media, obviously. Yet spending that time alone gives you the space to do that because now you're not distracted by every other thing.
Right.
And I mean, I'll share some of my deeper, like when I go on these runs, some of these deeper answers that I think I get. One of the, you could say, darker thoughts is you're not making enough progress. You're not moving fast enough. You can do better. You can do more.
You're behind.
You're behind. And one of the things that has really helped me is acknowledging it. Okay, got it. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. I just see it. And I had a buddy of mine once share, he said, thoughts are like traffic. They just kind of go by, and sometimes you fixate on a car and you can kind of focus on it. And he's like, that's the thought. He's like, yet eventually, like, you can just like release it.
Right.
And so I will very consciously be like, oh, there's that thought. There it is. Okay, gotcha. I see you. Doesn't mean that I'm going to hold you and make you part of me. It's just a thing that I focused on for a second, and now I'm going to go somewhere else. And so that's been very therapeutic for me because I think we can always find out where we're lacking. And I think to your point, like if you look for where you're lacking, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Yet if you look for where you're kicking ass, you're also going to find it. Your brain will answer any question you give it. And so your thing around, hey, am I like, there's going to be points in my life where I just feel like I don't have it all figured out. I would argue, when do we ever freaking have it all figured out? Right? Like I can genuinely say, right, for the last 30 years of my life, I really don't know a time in my life where I was like, I got it all together. Right? Like I'm good financially, I'm good relation-wise, I'm good professional, personally. Like there was always something where I'm like, I got to work on that.
Right. Or you wanted more,
and
right?
you wanted more in it, right? Have you had that before?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Where like, I feel like this just comes with like being raised with, high expectations, high standards, you're always just thinking, could I do more?
Yeah.
How can I do this thing better? Am I doing enough? Right. And that was kind of one thing that I had to learn kind of the hard way and really come to realization with is that like, we're never going to have it all figured out, to your point. And that's the beauty of life. We're always going to be learning something new every single day. So that's why you need to just throw yourself into whatever it is and just start. Because your future self is waiting for you to start, right? So I think that was very life-changing for me because I was always scared to start because I wanted to have it figured out. But once I started just, you know what, we're going to learn as we go. And I figured out that most people are doing that too, even in their careers, school, raising families. Like no one really has it figured out.
Nobody does.
And that's what makes life so exciting.
That's one of the things that I've realized too. And I think it's kind of cool. Run Club has actually allowed me to see this so vividly. You go to a run club. Now, obviously we live in Tampa, Florida, right? There's a couple different run clubs. Yet you go to one of these run clubs and there's like a lot of people in good shape, right? Both men and women. And you're like, shit, like maybe I want to put the pizza down like on Saturday. Right. And so I remember though, talking to guys like you and the 3 or 4 other guys who I've developed some really good relationships in run clubs and realizing that on the surface, these guys look so freaking put together. And then once you kind of get to know them and ask some good questions and really listen to them and give them some good attention and like show them like, dude, like I care about you. Like I'm curious about like who you are and why you're here, right? What are your goals, right? Let's support each other. Then they start telling you like, dude, here's the thing that I've messed up. Here's the thing that I'm still struggling with. Here's the thing that I compare myself to, or the people I compare myself to, that makes me feel less than or makes me feel inadequate. And it's such a human thing where if I never had the chance to ask the guy those questions, and I just was like, oh, there's that guy. He's the guy who has everything figured out and he's shredded. Like, that's kind of, I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah.
But like, do you ever feel that where it's just like, oh, as soon as I see a guy who's in great shape, I immediately think he's got like 90% of his life figured out.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do that all the time with like influencers on social media.
Dude. Yeah.
People that I see on social media, and then when I meet them in person, I'm like, wow, you know what? Like I always looked so highly, of them, and now I'm like, I'm kind of like them, like I'm not that far behind. And my fitness analogy for your point, by kind of, judging a book by its cover is, I think everyone's physique and their body is like their resume. So how I think of it is like, people are going to judge you based off the first thing they see.
Yeah.
But until you have the opportunity to tell your story, have that interview, that first conversation, you're never truly going to know someone, until you have that encounter. So
I think about that whenever I met a girl at a bar.
Was it Rachel?
No, it was not Rachel.
Okay.
She's a nightmare. I thought about it when, if you see a girl across a bar, the only thing you know about her is that she's in your physically, like her physical attraction.
Right.
You don't know if she's psycho or just completely schizophrenic or like just crazy. All you know is like, I like what she looks like physically right now. I have no idea who she actually is. And so to your point, judging a book by its cover probably loses a lot of possible really cool interactions with people. And it doesn't mean that every person that I'm going to meet, I'm going to really connect with. At least I gave them the chance.
Yeah.
Right. At least I was open-minded to possibly something being there. And then choose your friends wisely based upon who they show you they are. Right. Like one of the books I read, Let Them Theory, Mel Robbins.
Okay.
Right. Super popular book. If anybody wants a good book recommendation, check out Let Them Theory.
Great author.
Yeah. Mel Robbins.
Awesome.
I think there was a piece in that book where she said, let people show you who they are. And that was like really powerful. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, let people show you who they are. Like, left to their own devices, what do they do? And this is a lot of like what I wanted to, like, we can kind of drift into like discipline, right? And like, hey, motivation is fleeting, right? Motivation jumps out the window when discipline's sitting at the edge of the bed looking at you like a nightmare, right? Like, that's what it feels like. And who are you when nobody is there to say, hey, Austin, get out of bed, right? Austin, you shouldn't eat that pizza. Yeah. Eat the chicken.
You have that that devil on your shoulder,
right? And then there's the guy, right? And then there's the
other
other one that may, hey man, dude, it'd be really nice to miss your bedtime right now and watch another episode of Netflix. Man, that sounds cozy, right? Oh man, your bed's really warm right now. Let's sleep in a little bit.
Right.
Like, that's, I think, and I like when I was going through your 6 pages of notes, a lot of, I think what you talked about was getting like the reps in, right? And I'm a very big believer of, it's all the stuff that nobody sees. And it's all the stuff that, like, in complete honesty, nobody really cares about, but I care about it.
Keeps the engine going.
It keeps the engine going, right? Yeah. Like if you wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be like, that's awesome, Aust. If you don't wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be like, get him next time, Aust. Or like, there's no like, and same vice versa for me. It's like, I don't have a connection to the disciplined things you do in the shadows. Because they're yours. Right. And I think a lot of guys miss that because of the validation that so many guys seek externally, because of social media, because they want to have the 6-pack, the money, the girls, the Lambo. And it's like, dude, all that shit is built when nobody is watching. Yeah. Like, that's when you have to take yourself seriously. You feel that too?
I feel that. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about like the reps. You were talking about like
kind of like, you know, building that consistency, the routines. I mean, I think hashtag consistency is key. Like, right. That's just so cliche. Everyone knows that. But like you were saying I'll kind of jump back with the discipline motivation. Yeah. I think a lot of people kind of get that, sometimes misconstrued, and they rely heavily on the motivation. And that's the first mistake, is relying on the motivation, because some days it's not there. And we know that, we miss that 5 a.m. wake up, and it's going to happen. We're human. But that's where discipline comes in, and is when motivation isn't there, and discipline kind of keeps you on that routine. And that's kind of how you ultimately build discipline, through those daily habits. and that creates your routine. And like I said, I think to your point, it is the little things that you do, and the things people don't see in the shadows that are arguably the most important things you do, because it feeds the engine, it keeps you going, it ultimately produces those things you post on social media that, you know, people don't always see, you know, the little things. And it could be as small as, you know, your morning hygiene routine, and it all comes down to your self-respect for yourself, right?
That's important.
I think that's big.
Yeah. Dive into that a little bit. The self-respect, your self-respect.
Yeah.
That's huge, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, first of all, like, you have to want it for yourself. I think a lot of people, like you said, rely heavily, and especially if you're, you know, still a teenager entering your early college years, maybe you're first moving out, like, you're so reliant on your parents kind of holding that structure and that routine for you, telling you, you know, how to do things and when to do them. But there comes a point in your life where you need to start thinking like that for yourself. And the best way to do it is you have to want it for yourself. And, you know, how I did that was, I'm a big visionary person. So I like to envision the life that I want. And that's kind of ties back to the forward thinking, backwards planning. Like, I sometimes live the lifestyle as if I'm 30, 35 already set, because I want to know how that feels. And hanging out with, you know, people like you and a lot of other people at Run Club that may be more established and have it figured out, like, you guys feed, like, I feed off that. And that's what keeps me going, because, you know, I'm still in grad school. I don't have a full-time yet. I'm balancing many jobs and a lot of responsibilities, but I have that vision out there to a point where now it's get back in the lab and let's get to work, because once you figure out what you need to do to get to the output, that's when you start taking yourself and your life very seriously.
Do you think there's a way, do you think that there's a way to help guys want it more? Because the reason that I ask that is because this will probably be a hard statement for a lot of guys to hear, yet I don't think a lot of guys like themselves. And I think that because of the things that they did when they were 13, 14, 15 years old and they didn't know any better, and they're like looking back and they're like, dude, if people really knew the shit I did, they wouldn't like me. They wouldn't respect me. I wouldn't really have a lot of friends. And I have felt that before too. And I think in order to change that story or that narrative in your head, you have to do those hard things. It's almost like I have to freaking prove to myself that I'm worth a damn. Unfortunately. And I think maybe that's a man thing, right? Because I think men a lot of times we're gauged off of our usage and our value. Unfortunately. Yet I think that's why we have those nasty thoughts, because I feel like we have something that we have to uphold. It has to be like, I don't know, accomplish driven or value driven, right?
Yeah, there's I feel like we're so hard on ourselves sometimes, you know?
100%.
And that just puts pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. Sometimes I just want a hug. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, I just want to hang out and just not talk about like intense things. Just like I totally get that, but keep going.
Because to your point, you got to be successful to provide for maybe a Rachel one day, right? But yeah, no, I think that all comes with a perspective change, a perspective shift, I'll say. Because there was a time where I judged myself based off past actions, maybe things I wasn't so proud of. And that's where I found the importance of the next most important decision you make is the next one. Because that's the only one, you know, you don't have control over. It's not in the past. It's not in the future. It's present. And it's the only one you really have control in what happens, right? So I think being more present and kind of just not worrying about the future, not stressing about the past, and being very, very present in what you do, and intentionally. I know that's a powerful word, especially with everyday structure, but that has helped me a lot. And it really is a hard mindset shift to have, especially at a younger age, but it's one that's needed.
You heard the story of Lone Survivor with Marcus Luttrell?
Yes, a while back, yeah.
So Lone Survivor was the movie with Mark Wahlberg, played Marcus Luttrell. Long story short, right, they get ambushed, and Marcus Luttrell is the lone survivor out of his team of 5 or 6 Navy SEALs.
Yes.
And I remember watching Marcus Luttrell. I think the real Marcus Luttrell, talked to the Alabama football team, I believe it was. And he talked about how he had broken fibulas, he had broken ribs, he had bit half of his tongue off. Like, I mean, he was just probably inches away from death. And he had to crawl in order to get into this village to get to safety. And he said he literally just put a line in the sand, and he said, I'm just going to crawl to that line. And he crawled to that line. He said, all right, sweet.
Next one.
Made a next one. He crawled to that line. And he did that for, I think, like 3 miles. Like, just put that into perspective.
Pretty wild.
Right? And the reason that I bring that up is because you talk about, hey, I can't control what happened yesterday. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I have an idea, a possible idea, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Not even guaranteed.
Not
really.
even right now. Yeah. I actually have that tattooed on me. No man's guaranteed tomorrow. Store your riches in heaven, where rust and moth will not destroy. It's very important to me because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. All I can focus on is literally what I'm doing right now. And so I typically will tell like these young guys who are like, dude, I got no idea what to do, right? To figure out my life. It's like, well, what can you just do like right now? Like, how's your room? Is your room a mess? It's like, yeah, let's just clean up your room, right? You're playing video games for 9 hours a day. Yeah. What if we just broke it down to like 5 hours a day, right? Like, all of these things are doable, right? And so just starting these like little things and just slowly compounding them over time, which is where consistency comes into play, I think has such a huge impact on not only your results, yet also that self-respect piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how you start your day it means everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's, waking up, making your bed, making sure you're, brushing your teeth, doing those little routine things. It all starts in the morning.
Yeah. I made a video today about how great 9-to-5 jobs are. And here's why, right? Because there's probably
my attention with that one.
All right. So I had a lot of the times I hear guys say like, hey, I want to sell stuff on TikTok shop. I want to be a content creator. I want to do drop shipping. I want to trade crypto. I want to do coaching. And I hear those things, and obviously they want to do those things because it looks like you can be your own boss, you have total freedom, and you make a shit ton of money. When really that stuff takes a lot of work to get good at and actually make a living at. It's a very long-term game with that stuff. Personally, just from the guys I've seen who do it. And I'm like, when did you start doing this? They're like, I started when I was 18, and they're like 31. I'm like, oh, this is like a 10 plus year thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of these guys who might be 18, 19 years old are like, these are the things I want to do. And I'm like, I'm all good with you guys having these interests and these things that you want to do, yet get the job first that makes you money. I call this the money engine and the learning engine. The money engine is your 9-to-5 thing. Now, here's the thing about getting this 9-to-5 job. It doesn't just give you money. It also gives you meaning. You're a part of something bigger than yourself. A lot of these guys will say, what's the point of waking up in the morning? They don't have anything to wake up for. They don't have a job. There's no purpose, right? You have a job. Hey, there's the reason to wake up.
There's some structure.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And so, and then it also the third thing, it gives them that structure. And so I tell guys, I'm like, go find the job that is going to make you that money. It's not your career. This is literally like your foundation of the house that you're building. It's going to give you money. It might even give you benefits. It's going to give you the structure, and it's going to give you a reason to get out of your bed in the morning. If you don't have that, you have total complacency and total comfort, and you're probably not going to move and do anything, especially if your parents are enabling your current situation. You're just going to stay there. There's this awesome metaphor I heard once. 2 dogs were sitting on a porch, and one dog was whimpering, the other wasn't. Guy walks by and says to the owner, why is that dog whimpering and the other isn't? And he says he's sitting on a nail. And he says, why doesn't he move? And he said he must not be in enough pain. We won't move until there's enough pain. That metaphor changed my life forever, because I'm like, shit, pain, there's the value of pain, right? So if these guys aren't in enough pain, they'll just stay exactly where they are. And so that's where, like, how can we actually show the guys, here is the pain that could happen. Is that painful enough for you to start doing something, right? So one of the things I wanted to ask you too about, because I know we're talking about confidence and self-image and this self-respect thing, what percentage of guys do you think believe in themselves?
Ooh. I haven't really thought about that one before. Yeah,
I wrote that down. It was one of the things I highlighted because I honestly don't know the question. Nico, we're open for your interpretation as well.
I'm ready to bring in Nico, phone a friend here,
right? That's a deep question, right? What percentage of guys do you think believe in themselves?
And that's just like any age.
Let's go with like guys in their 20s and 30s.
20s and 30s,
right? Or we can go to the 8. Yeah, let's go guys just in their 20s and 30s.
And they don't believe in themselves.
Like what percentage of guys do you think believe in themselves?
Well, it's definitely probably lower than what most people are thinking.
I would agree. I would 100%. If guys are real about it, guys are real about the answer.
Right.
I honestly think it's much lower than we think. I think you give your answer.
I mean, I think it's probably going to be probably like three out of every 4, maybe I'm thinking.
Okay, so you're thinking maybe? 3 out of every 4 believe in themselves. Don't. So you're saying 25% believe in themselves.
Yeah, so maybe 1 out of every 4, like
1 out of every 4.
Very confident.
I was thinking 20. I was thinking 20%.
So 20, 25.
20, 25. Yeah, so I would say between 20 and 25% of guys believe in themselves.
That was a great year too.
2025. Right? Like that's right. That's a question that we just completely pulled out of the air. Yeah. And we both kind of answered it the same way. I would say 1 out of every 4 guys believes in themselves, which is probably not a good thing.
No. And that's where Be That Guy comes in.
Right? Like, it's funny you say that. I had somebody actually ask me, I've had a couple people ask, like, what's the main thing you guys work on guys with? And I used to say it was confidence, self-image, habits. It's all of those things. But I think at the end of the day, like, we hope guys believe in themselves again. Right? Like, I told the guys this last night. I was like, if you guys ever have a moment where you don't believe in yourself, I don't want you guys to think that you're broken. Yet I also want you guys to take the belief that I have for you and use it.
It's so simple but effective.
So simple but effective. Just to like let them know, like, dude, I believe in you. Like, I've had enough conversation with you to be like, I believe that anything you actually do want to do, you can do it. I'm not saying you're going to do it fast, yet I do believe that you have the day-to-day mentality, especially with the way we kind of set everything up, that you can do this. Like, it's totally possible. And that's where the guys, like, honestly, dude, we get emotional. Because, like, it's like, fuck, I never really had dudes talking about that, like, with me. And that's where it's like, man, we're missing that deep shit.
I think that emotion is missing with guys, like the vulnerability.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that, dude, because I love the vulnerability.
Oh, man, yeah. It's like I growing up, like, had very strict, tough parents for the right reasons, So it was always like you couldn't show emotion. Like, you just had to, like, tough out whatever it was, whether it was with sports or with school, like, very high standards. And I mean, I'm thankful for that to this day because, I think that I owe a lot to my parents and my family and my upbringing for kind of the person I become today. But yeah, I think I've learned how to become more vulnerable and show those emotions and that it's okay because I feel like, to your point, guys just want to have it all figured out. They want to have that, that straight face and that confidence level, but I mean, sometimes to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to become vulnerable and you have to open up. It's a tough thing to do.
It really is.
But it is needed.
Yeah. I think it also, it ties into that saying of being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Oh, I love that saying.
Right? And because I read that and I was like, we'll probably talk about this in a way of like working out or eating healthy, but it's kind of ironic. It comes up during this vulnerability talk.
It was a matter of time.
Right? It's just a matter of time, right? So like why do we think it's uncomfortable?
That's a great question.
Why do we think being vulnerable as a guy is uncomfortable?
It's kind of like to what I said earlier. I feel like, with the being vulnerable, and I feel like we want to put on this image, we don't want to let people down. And I'm happy to take, some of your advice as well and some of your, wisdom on this, but I just think that we don't want to let people down.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of people looking up to us, whether it's friends, family. A lot of people in the social media world relying on our content to be consistent, and I think it puts a lot of weight on our shoulders, ultimately.
Yeah.
If I'm being quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it's so difficult, because we don't want to let other people down. At least me personally, I've always been one to try and make everyone happy. And I was always, friends with the different groups in high school, and I had all those different friend groups and those social circles. But it came to a point where you can't always make everyone happy. It comes to a point where, people are gonna come and go.
Yeah.
And you have to take care of yourself first. But I think that's ultimately one of the main reasons why it's so hard for us to do. Yeah. Even right now, I'm a little uncomfortable. I'll be honest. This is I don't get asked this every day, so I'm glad you're doing it. But yeah, just knowing that it's okay, and that if people are gonna look at you negatively for it, then they probably weren't the right people to be in your life, in your corner.
Said. Very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an inherent need in all men to make sure that we aren't letting others down, because we have been wired to protect
and support and provide.
Yeah. And that looks like many different things. And when I am vulnerable, I'm letting you in to a piece of me that is so honest, this is what I'm thinking could happen, it could change your belief in my ability to protect.
Yeah. It could change your whole perspective on who you think I am as
who you
a person,
think I am, right? Yeah. And wow, that was deep. Right? It could change. That's why I think it's so scary, right? Oh my God, all these guys could think I'm pretty cool and tough. And then I'm like, dude, when that chick broke up with me freaking freshman year, it destroyed me. And they all look at you, and then you're just like, oh my God, did I just lose them all?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm afraid of if I really let you in. If I really tell guys that when I go for 9-mile runs on Davis Island in silence, and I say to myself, dude, you're not doing enough. You're soft. Will they still respect me?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that I tell the guys who are 21 years old who feel totally lost. I'm like, dude, I'm there with you, right? I don't want you guys to think that just because I'm in good shape and it looks like I got my head on my shoulders doesn't mean that I got everything figured out. There's still a lot of stuff that I get anxious about. There's still a lot of stuff that I doubt myself with. And I think I've heard of the term the vulnerability paradox, where actually, because I'm courageous enough, to kind of connecting back to what we talked about earlier, courageous enough to tell you that stuff, you actually end up perceiving me as strong. And that's a really interesting perspective shift. And I've told the story many times about in college when I spoke to my whole team. I was the captain of the team. We had 180 guys. I got emotional a lot. And I hated it. I thought it was exactly this. I thought I was losing their respect.
Yeah, you feel weak.
You feel weak, right? Yeah. And then at the end, I apologized at the University of Pennsylvania. Wow, this is kind of wild. Oof. I apologized at that. That was our last game at that talk. And half of the guys got up and they're like, dude, don't apologize for that. They're like, that's the reason that we put you in that position, because we knew you were tough enough to be honest. We knew you were tough enough to go there. That's why we won as many games as we did this year. That's why we're all better men. That's why we were better. We were a great football team. It's because of that. Yeah. It was the authenticity. It was that blunt vulnerability of, here's the shit that I struggle with and I'm still working through, and I am down to share it with you guys, and I would love if you just listened. And if you have shit that you're struggling with, tell me too, so we can be there for one another.
Yeah, we could be teammates, not competitors.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's where social media can kind of be a double-edged sword, right? Because it is highlighting the good things in our life, and I think so many people only share the good. And I try to be as authentic as I can with, and you do a great job of that as well with, you know, these conversations and even kind of that face-to-face screen time and having those conversations and almost like wanting people to know that my life isn't as perfect as you may, you know, think it to be. And when people, like I'll have some people that really only know me through social media reach out and they'll be like praising me on all these great things. And I almost want to tell them the negatives and the other things because it's something that I know they can relate on and really find that authentic piece because it's not everything shiny and smooth. Yeah. You know, you got to really dig deep and you're going to have those flaws. Yeah. And I mean, it makes you stronger at the end of the day, right?
I wonder if that's a big fear too, where if I showed these people the amount of days that didn't go my way or the amount of things that didn't go my way, would I lose their validation?
Like, how would they interpret that?
Exactly. Oh, Austin isn't as cool as I thought he was. Right? It's like, shit. Like, I'm only going to show you the good highlights, right? I don't want to lose you as a supporter or as an audience member or somebody who trusts me. Yet maybe that's actually the thing that would get them to trust us more because I am like, I think of like, so the two podcasts that I listen to are Diary of a CEO and Modern Wisdom. And then,
love that one.
Right,
Chris Williamson.
Chris Williamson. Love Chris Williamson. And Diary of a CEO is with Stephen Bartlett. The reason, and I listen to Alex Hormozy as well, The Game, and then occasionally I throw in some Simon Sinek. Okay. But the top two are Modern Wisdom and Diary of a CEO. I listen to them every single morning. And the reason that I loved them the most was, and Alex Hormozy does a good job of this when he gets vulnerable. But I think Stephen Bartlett and Chris Williamson are very open about, like, I don't know. Or I don't, or like I struggle with that. Or this is the, like, yeah, I failed at this week. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think Stephen Bartlett does a really good job of it. It comes off as so intelligent, yet sometimes he'll ask a question and the guest will be like, really? Like, or like he'll ask a question. He's like, I just don't know like what this is. Yeah. And I'm like, man, like this guy is so humble in his extremely intellectual approach. Yeah. And I have a ton of respect for him because of that. And that's why I'm in his audience and I listen to a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. I think that's what creates such a special bond and friendship with people because you see the value in someone when you're asking those questions. Yeah. So, you know, you're not just asking them to test you on it. Like, I am genuinely like curious and I know that you probably have an answer and you could provide value for me, right? So I that's why I ask a ton of questions and I feel like, you know, there's always something to be learned. And I know that whoever I surround myself with, there's going to be at least one thing that person knows that I don't. So everyone has value to add. Yeah. So it's asking the right questions. Yeah. I mean, I've heard Chris Williamson do that a lot of times where he'll strategically bring in his guests just because it's like a being in the classroom. It's like a learning lesson for him because he's asking all these questions and learning as he goes. And I think that's what makes, you know, them such great podcast hosts.
So good. Right. And I mean, honestly, I think Joe Rogan does a pretty good job of it too from the episodes that I mean, I listen to Rogan every once in a while too. And I think he does a really good job of being honest, right? Like I have a lot of respect for people who have high status in the world, yet are very honest about who they are when the lights aren't on them and the cameras aren't on them. And sharing that with the world, it makes me feel like they aren't acting. Yeah. Right. And I think that's something that, like, if we want to talk about guys figuring out their lives, like, you don't have to pretend like you have it all figured out. Believe me, I don't want you to pretend like you have it all figured out because you're actually probably gonna make me feel worse. Right? It's like, man, they got it all figured out. Like tell me who you, like, show me who you really are. And obviously that takes getting used to somebody and warming up a little bit. Yet, I mean, I'm not interested in the guy who's never failed at anything. Frankly, I think those guys are kind of cowards because they do all the things that they know they're going to be good at. Right. Because it's an ego stroke.
It is. And that's where I think it's so important to stay humbled. I'm going to hit you with another quote that I recently heard on a podcast, but it was that pride is your greatest enemy and failure is your greatest friend.
Pride is your greatest enemy. Failure is your greatest friend.
So to kind of explain that, you know, a lot of people, like you said, want to show and highlight what they're good at. And, you know, when you start having that pride and you kind of take it a little too far, that's where you can kind of start reaching those questionable boundaries of maybe becoming a little bit egotistical or overconfident. And then with that mindset, I mean, your growth significantly declines because, you know, you think you have it figured out, or you're not willing to try the hard things. Whereas failure is ultimately growth. You know, I always say, if you're going to fail fast and fail forward.
Exactly.
Right. And if you knew how many times you had to fail to succeed or get to that goal, how fast would you do it? Probably pretty quick.
Wow, that's that's an awesome thing to think about. If I knew how many times I just needed to fail at this thing before I was no, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool.
It was like, if you knew you only had to fail 3 more times to achieve that.
Oh my God, I'd do it instantly.
Like, how fast would you keep doing it?
Yeah.
Whereas people get scared, and they like, sometimes maybe you can achieve that if you work towards it, maybe in a month, as opposed to waiting and it doesn't happen for a couple of years.
Dude, that is such a freaking good. Did you just come up with that, or did you hear that somewhere else?
Had that in the quote.
All right, had that. That's so good, because I'm thinking about, like, there's this project I've been working on for the last probably 2 years, maybe a little bit under 2 years, and I haven't succeeded yet. Like, it's essentially a marketing pillar of our business.
Okay.
And I've had small success where I'm like, oh, maybe I'm getting it. And then it breaks and it fails. Yeah. And I've probably failed like 100 times at like the same thing.
And you're not sugarcoating it.
And I'm like, I really am not. And it's ugly and it pisses me off. And there's some days where I just look out the window. I'm like, God, just come on.
When is my day?
Like, what am I missing here? Right. And I've brought in other people to look at it, and they haven't essentially been able to figure out. Some people have helped me much more than I just have in just my own thinking, yet I haven't figured out the thing yet. And this week, I'll be vulnerable. Yeah. Was a freaking brutal week. Like, all of the things that I thought were going to work, none of them worked.
And it's only Thursday.
And it's Thursday. It's not even Friday. So I still could have a lot of failures tonight and all of Friday. So like this week, I was really beat up, and like all of these things that I thought were going to work, none of them worked. And then I realized like one of the things worked, but it was the wrong numbers. And I was like, oh my God, I thought it worked, and it actually like teased me. Yeah. And so I was like, man, this is so free. Like, I've literally been trying to solve this for under 2 years. And I think about like a guy like an Elon Musk or Bezos, or like these really, really huge entrepreneurs of the world who have probably been trying to solve certain problems for like 5, 10, 15 plus years. Yeah. And they haven't solved the problem yet.
Took time.
Right. And just like the patience required with some of this, like, greatness takes patience.
It does.
Right? Like,
I always say you can't rush perfection, man.
Can't rush perfection, right? And I think you talked about like consistency over something. Consistency over perfection, maybe. But it was just about like the emphasis on how consistent I've been with, all right, that didn't work, let's try this. That didn't work, let's try this. It's hard to be consistent when nothing is going the way you want it to go. It's easy to be consistent when you're getting the results. Yeah. Right? Like, I always say, like, everybody can enjoy the wins. Like, you can't really tell a lot about people when you're winning and things are going great. But when you get punched in the face, like, that's when you get to see who really steps up. That's when you get to see, that's the guy I want on my team. Yeah. Right? Like, that's how I typically will connect with people from like a vulnerability standpoint. Like, oh, if they're willing to tell me about some of the hard shit that might be a little ugly, I'm like, that's a guy I want on my team because I trust him more.
Yeah. And that consistency is part of the journey.
Yeah.
I think that was something I struggled so deeply with, was whether it was a physique that I wanted in the gym or a time that I wanted to accomplish in a race, whatever it may have been, I always had my mind fixated on the ultimate goal and at the end product. Whereas I wasn't taking time to be present, enjoy, the little things throughout the journey that really, that lead up to that great thing. Because a lot of people, they are so fixated on that goal.
Yeah.
And then once they achieve it, it's like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Never content. They're never happy, never enjoying the process. So I think the process is arguably probably more impactful and more important in your life than actually fulfilling the outcome. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Yeah, dude. It's like, do you know who, his name is Tanner Chister? I can't remember his name. He, very successful, I believe, entrepreneur. I haven't like followed him a lot, but I've occasionally seen his videos and he seems very educated in business. Seems like a pretty cool guy. He had this video once about, I think he was living in Miami at the time, and he threw this big party because his company had hit his first $1 million month.
Wow.
So cool, right? So cool to think about that.
That's deserving of some celebration.
Right, deserves a little bit of celebration. Be That Guy is right under $1 million a month right now.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. We'll have a big party when we hit that.
After this podcast.
Right. So he had this party for his first $1 million month, and there was a guy there who came up to him and they were like, Tanner, what's going on with this party? Like, why are you having it? And he said, oh, we just hit our first $1 million month. And the guy goes, cool. And he turns and like walks away. And Tanner in this moment, he's like, right there, I realized, he was like, holy cow. Like, that wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be like, dude, you hit $1 million, you hit this, you hit that. Right. And he's like, damn, I thought the destination was going to be a little bit sweeter. I always remember that because I think we get that sometime. I'll personally share this. Like, I had some debt that I've been paying off over the last couple of years, and I got like pretty close to paying it off. And I'm kind of like, I thought this was going to be cooler. when I like got to like $0, and I did, and I'm like, okay. I was like, now what? Right? Like, I was really like, I was very happy that I did it. Yeah. Yet I do think, to your point, like, I think the fun part, even though like I shared, like I've been struggling with solving this problem, like when I solve the problem, I bet you it's not going to be as enjoyable as I think it is. I'll just be like, oh my God, I did it.
Right.
And then like, and that's kind of it. And then it's like, all right, what's the next problem I got to solve? Right. And I'm all for enjoying the moment, right. And celebrating a little bit and being like, cool, I'm so happy I did this.
Yeah.
Yet 99% of the time is in the process. And then you have the 1% of the thing that happened, the good thing. And I think when we realize that we're in the good old days. I don't know if you're an Office fan. You watch the show The Office?
A little bit, yeah.
Andy Bernard, I believe in season 9, he said, I wish somebody would tell you when you're in the good old days. And I always remember that line. I think Alex Hormozy even said it too, where it's like, this is the stuff, like looking back on, we're going to be like, I'm going to be 35 in 5 years. You're going to be 29. I'm going to be like, and we're going to be doing our things. We're going to be wickedly successful, right? Oh. And we're going to be like, well, for sure, right? Yeah. And I'll be like, yo, Austin, remember that podcast we did like 5 years ago? And I'll be like, that was the good old days, dude. Yeah. Right? When we were just like launching our shed. Like, those are the good old days. Like, right now.
That's how you would define the good old days, is like the right now, the present.
Right now is the good old days.
Yeah.
Right? There was this great line I heard once that said, if you added 10 years to your life right now, you become ridiculously grateful of where you are right now.
That's deep.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're 34, you're going to be so grateful of when you're 20. Like, you're going to wish you were 24 again. Yeah. Right? When I'm 40, oh my God.
Oof.
Right? That hits.
That hit me hard.
Right? Like, that hits, right? I'm going to be like, man, remember when I was 30 and I had that awesome conversation with Austin?
And that's where time is. I always tell people, with time being so valuable, it is the most valuable relationship you can have in life is with time. You know, you're going to have great relationships with people you love and people you care about, but people don't realize that having a healthy relationship with time, like, is a thing. Like, not everyone does.
Yeah.
And, I think I have to remind myself sometimes when I see, working at a yacht and country club or working in sports business and the global sports industry, and hearing from these CEOs and, watching these people who own these yachts play golf, like, always hearing their stories and where they're at and kind of wanting that life, I have to take a step back and remind myself that they're envious of the time that we have and where we're at right now, because I'm sure they would trade it all in right now to be where we're at in our lives.
100%.
And to have the extra time, right?
Dude.
So I think that we just need to be reminded of that sometimes when we kind of have that vision of the life that we want to create for ourselves. So, yeah, man.
That was deep, dude.
It was deep, but it was needed to be said.
That was needed. It felt good. It felt refreshing.
I think some people can maybe find home with that one.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's end with if you're a guy in your 20s right now and you feel stuck and they call you, Austin, they're like, dude, I'm stuck. What do I need to do?
What they're asking me, what do they need to do?
What do I need to do?
Well, first of all, I like to have a lot of context. So I'm going to probably ask them what they're currently doing.
Okay.
To understand a little bit more of their situation.
Austin, I'm just chilling at my parents' house right now. Like, I just don't know what to do with my life. I graduated high school. I didn't really want to go to college. I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah. And how old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Are you still in college?
No, I just graduated high school. I'm just kidding, Austin. I'm 18.
Okay.
I got you, Austin.
Okay.
That's like,
all right, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm 18.
All right. Well, I would say whether you're going into college
Yeah.
or graduating college, going into the work field.
Okay.
I would say first thing you need to do is going to be uncomfortable. All right. But you need to move out of your hometown. I think us both being, from the Midwest, and it doesn't matter where you are. But I think that first step is needed.
Break away.
You have to, because you don't know half the things about yourself that you're going to figure out once you move out and start living on your own. I was always a believer that I needed to do that to figure out who I was, and I wanted to create something from scratch. Hence why I went to an out-of-state college. I moved across the country, to come down here for work and grad school. So I've always kind of wanted that uncomfortability, because I think it's important with growth and constantly networking yourself, your brand. But yeah, not a lot of people are willing to make that move. And I know it's scary, because you're thinking financially, how am I going to do it? Emotionally, how am I going to do it? Like, I'm not ready. Well, guess what? You're never going to be ready. And that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, dude. All right, so the guy's 18 and you're telling him he just graduated high school. He doesn't know if it's college, military, not doing anything. You're like, you got to move.
I think whatever it is, because it could be military.
Yeah.
He's going to move out. College, you're going to move out. There's a lot of different avenues you can move. I'm not saying you need to be able to go buy yourself a new house and move somewhere, because financially you probably won't be able to do that. But there are other avenues to kind of become uncomfortable and kind of move away and learn. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things for me, because I know that if I still was home, I wouldn't even be close to where I'm at right now.
I agree. Personally, me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, with that advice, it's going to force them to start making some money. It's going to force them to start learning some skills that are valuable. It's going to force them to start solving some problems.
Oh, yeah.
To get comfortable being uncomfortable. All the things that we talked about, consistency, confidence. I have to believe something in myself that I can do this. Yeah. Right. So it hits a lot of those. So I completely agree with that. I like that.
And the rest will come after that.
Oh, yeah.
It's worst comes to worst. And this is the worst, but it happens. You could always move back.
You can, yep.
But I feel like once you kind of get that freedom and you start figuring out the life you can create, that's going to be the last option in your head. And my last point here, Deez, before we kind of wrap up, is the idea of manifestation. I live by that. It was never easy coming down here.
Yeah.
My sister lived down here for a few years, and we would come down and visit. And I was like, I'm going to live there. Like I had that vision. And I probably went through like 6 interviews just to get one to pay for my school, to ultimately give me the opportunity to come down, because, I had some financial restrictions. But yeah, you just have to manifest the idea and the life that you want But in order to do that, you have to have that vision. And I'll leave it off with one last quote is, if it matters to you, you will make the time. I live by that. No matter what it is, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's moving away, getting that dream job, you will put in the work to ultimately become what you want to be. So, yeah.
Aus, where can all these guys follow you for Instagram, TikTok, socials?
No, I would love to connect with a lot of you guys that are watching and hopefully find some value with some of the things that we talked on. And I'm always willing to reach out and connect with some of your guys. But Instagram is going to be AZ_fit23. Like you said, I have a pretty big hybrid fitness presence.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love watching your stuff. You're really good at it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're growing. And I try to be very diverse and add a lot of value. So it's not just lifting and running, but I have the motivational quotes and diet, nutrition. I'm all about faith, longevity.
Yeah.
So
I loved your post about when you were like, hey, if somebody doesn't post for a while, it doesn't mean that they're done or being inconsistent. It means that they could just be doing the thing that the posting was supposed to do, making them money, they're filling orders, they're running groups, they're coaching. And I was like, damn, that's a really good thing for people to remember.
Yeah, and I experienced that with a few of my friends too, and I was on them about it. And so like 100%. And then lastly, I also post on TikTok. It's just going to be my first name, Austin, and then Zieman, M-A-N, 23.
Yes. Just literally the letter Z, M-A-N, 23. And we'll have them all linked in the description if you guys do want to follow Austin, which I highly, highly recommend. He's much better at the fitness shit than I am. All right. Go follow him instead of me when it comes to those regards. All right. So I'll have it all linked in the description. But Aus, thank you so much, man. Yeah, this was awesome, dude.
This was awesome. I'm honored to be here with you and for you inviting me. And I think that what you're doing here with Be That Guy and, a lot of these young adults that are trying to figure out their lives and become, ultimately someone they want to be in life is pretty special. So I condemn you on it. Keep it going, and always going to be supporting it. So thank you.
Amen, brother. I appreciate that. And 24 years old, you haven't even started. Yeah, dude. 24 is, this is going to make me feel a little old saying this, but you do remind me of me when I was 24 years old. I was like, consistency, discipline. I'm taking this shit seriously. I'm writing things down. And so when I see a guy who's 24 who's doing this, I'm like, that's what we need more of right there, right? Good men who value health, who value kindness, who value vulnerability, who are writing things down and who are in pursuit of something greater than themselves. That's what I see when I talk to you. And I absolutely love it, brother. So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome, dude. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Remember to subscribe to the channel, spread the good word of Be That Guy. Let's help these young men and keep being that guy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.